I'm a pantser. That's right, me, this guy right here, me. Someone who's identified as an outliner, a planner for over 20 years. Something deep down, I've always wished I was a pantser. Being able to sit down and just start writing. And it turns out I am a fucking pantser. Sorta. Let's talk about it. What's up, word nerds? I'm Tim Green. Welcome to the channel. Now, I just want to make it very, very clear. In no way, shape, or form am I a pure pantser. And there's no more planning anymore. No. Timmy needs a plan. Can't believe I just said Timmy. Oh, I hate to explain this. We need to talk about the thing everyone is sick about hearing. But I see no way around talking about the pantser planner debate explanation. So let's just cover it really quickly and move on. Timestamps down below if you want to skip this part. To put the explanation of pantser planner as simply as possible, it's a spectrum. So everyone falls somewhere on this line. For example, Brandon Sanderson, a known planner. So he's going to be deep in the planning section. You got Stephen King, a well-known pantser. I'm going to put him opposite of Brandon just for the hell of it. George R.R. Martin. This guy is all the way over there off screen because the guy has no clue how to finish a fucking book in 15 years. Okay, so get it. You fall somewhere on here. For me, for most of my writing career, I would say I went deep in the planning section. Not as far as Brandon, but close. So let's put myself here. Now, where I fall now as a pantser, I have outlining, planning. Yeah, I'm here. I know it's not much difference. And I know your question. How am I a pantser if I'm deeply still in the planning section? And it's simple.
Freewriting.
Which is ironic because it's something I used to do in my early days of my writing career and then forgot about it for 20 years. So let's just forget about that and never talk about it again. I mean it. Ever again.
Ever.
Got it? Good. So what we're going to talk about in this video is what freewriting is, how I've used it in the past, how I'm using it now. Freewriting is traditionally regarded as a pre-writing technique practiced in academic environments, in which a person writes continuously for a set period of time with limited concern for rhetoric, conventions, mechanics, sometimes working from a specific prompt provided by a teacher. Freewriting, a writing strategy developed by Peter Elbow in 1973, is similar to brainstorming, but is written in sentence and paragraphs form without stopping. Freewriting is not that complicated. It's impossible to do it wrong. You just start writing. You set a time limit and you write. You don't have to set a time limit. You just set a goal, what you're trying to write, and you stop when you get there. You can do it on the computer, but like myself and many find doing it by hand on paper with pen, not a pencil, because
who writes in pencil?
And you just start writing. You just keep writing and you don't stop until the time period ends or you finish what your goal was. You can think of it as a word sprint, but the focus is on writing, not prose like for the novel. And well, you can if you want to. It's about getting ideas down on paper and turning none of them away. You have an idea, it goes down in ink.
Ink, not lead.
Now you might think, well, what if I don't have anything to write? I have no idea what I want to be writing about. Well, there's a lot of people who say, just start writing, I should be writing. Or you could literally just write the word write over and over again until something pops up or your time period ends. Another way you could treat this is the vomit draft, but not like a first draft. It's about getting ideas, a summary of what's happening in the scene, the section, the chapter, whatever, down on page. Sure, you have a description of what you want to put down, put it down. You have a line of dialogue or a thought, word for word, about what you want the main character to be thinking or say. Put it down. Even if you don't have the rest of the conversation, summarize the rest of the conversation. It's about putting down what you have in your head on the page and then figuring out the rest later on. Like I said, free writing is not that complicated. It's impossible to do it wrong because however you do it, it's how you do it. Now that we've covered free writing, let's move on to, and we're going to start with how I first used free writing like 20 years ago. Literally 20 years ago.
Damn, I'm getting old.
The only time I ever free wrote in my early years of writing was first year of Marx Valera. Those free writings went on to be full-on synopsis of each book in the series. You see, boys and girls, back in the ancient days of 2006, before KDP ever existed, the only way you could get published was traditional. Meaning, you had to be worthy of being picked up by a publisher.
And an agent.
And part of that process of soliciting your manuscript, you need a synopsis. I'm pretty sure Randy Ingermanson, the Snowflake guy, was where I first heard that was part of the soliciting process. Was it him?
Yes.
No?
Maybe. Maybe it was him.
Someone told me.
And in 2006, I still hadn't realized I was a planner at that point, despite all the fucking evidence there was. You see, I panned the first 5 chapters of the first book and had no clue where I was going with it. Not a clue. I did have other ideas, but I had no clue how they fit in, how form the magic and all that stuff was going to look like. Just ideas. So I decided to move back to finish working on, or not finish, continue to develop my Forbidden Realm project, where I was working on different elements of the story while I was trying to figure out that story. I hit a roadblock there. And I was like, I don't have this, I can't work on that. Hey, you know what? I do have these other ideas. Maybe I should do what I'm doing here, but with Marx Valera. And then I froze.
Oh my god, I'm a
Planner, not a pantser.
Okay, within that first year, I got a good portion of the world building done, but still didn't really have many ideas for the story. Probably did, but I just can't remember exactly how much. I just didn't know each book. I knew how many books I wanted in the series. 8. That's right, you heard me. 8 books. Why 8 books? Well, because I didn't want people thinking I was copying Harry Potter.
Duh.
True story.
So one day I decided, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to just write down something and get some ideas going for this book. And before I knew it, I had a complete breakdown of the first book with notes on the back. 9.5 pages. In one afternoon, I wrote a full summary of the first book. If you'd like to hear the reading of that 9-page synopsis, you need to check out Storytime Podcast Season 2, the final episode. That's where Adam will read the entire synopsis and we'll discuss how the synopsis and the actual story we just covered through Season 2 differ. And they differ a lot. Go out and check that episode out. It is live on my channel now. And now we'll return you to your regularly scheduled programming. I would go on to do a full-on synopsis for all the books, except for 8. Possibly 7. No, I did one for 7. I know it. Did I? Did I? Hold on a second. If I did, I have no clue where it is. Now I'm thinking I don't think I did. Because you see, I've been building something up in the first 6 books that I realized I was going to come to fruition in the penultimate book before the final. But if that happened, it would make it impossible for book 8 to happen. And that is because all my fucking villains die And since I was determined to have 8 books, because we cannot, absolutely not, copy Harry Potter, I turned to a friend using AOL Instant Messenger. Good old AIM was still around back then. After getting my friend up to speed as best I could without going into all the details, and just asking me if he got any thoughts how I could solve this issue. And his ideas he came back were chef kiss. Perfect thing I needed to hear. His ideas all sucked. They were terrible. But that was a good thing, because you see, I needed those ideas to be terrible because it forced me to go through my own thoughts on how can I explain it to him, understand why his ideas suck, aren't helpful. And then I got idea thinking. And I started like, yeah, I like that. That could work. Oh, one thing. I don't know how that works. That mechanic works. Wait.
How did I not world build this yet?
Hold on, I need to go world build.
So I world build the thing I needed. And then after that, I wrote the outlines for book 7 and 8. And yes, I did not slip up there. Outline. I had no summary, no synopsis for book 7 or 8. Yeah, I didn't think I had one for 7. Maybe I did, but again, if I do, I don't know where it is. Regardless, I now had a detailed chapter bullet outline and how detailed it was. To give you an idea, book 8, the last book, that outline was 68 pages long. That's how detailed it was. And because of that, my first spat with free writing came to an end for nearly 20 years.
20 years.
All because I thought I had found a better solution instead of just the next step in the process. Now that we know how I used to free write, let's talk about how I'm free writing now. Free writing is awesome. You can easily go down a completely different path than you ever thought you were going to take. And you may think I'm saying that's a caution. No, that's a good thing. That's a good thing for 2 reasons. A, you find a version of the story that you never would have found on your own, just trying to plot it out and think through things. And before you know it, because you went down this different path, it feels different, exciting,
Fresh.
And then you got B, which is you learn where you don't want your story to be because you went down a direction you never intended to go down. When I started the free writing for Fate Mark, though if you hear me say let them begin, basically the titles are interchangeable for this video. I had no clue where I was going. I just had a beginning point. I had some ideas that I was using as section titles to place to fill out how it could fit into the story. But as I started free writing those ideas and it became more and more fleshing things out, I had newer ideas. So I created more sections and all. Before I knew it, Kato is my protagonist. He went from trying to find his daughters who were taken to saving the empire. And it was awesome. It was a great journey. And I still can't believe how I went from there to that. But I'm not sure how often in the future I'm going to free write without knowing where I'm going. Because if you compare that to Stolen Islands, the first project I developed and started and finished in 8 years, I knew Clayton's climax. I knew that I had a list of people he needed to interview, but I didn't know what order they were going to be interviewed in. It's actually the whole reason why I sat down and free wrote it, because to help figure that out. All I had was the information they were going to reveal to him. Then you have Rajara. I just finished the free writings for the first novella in a series of novellas, and I only knew that there was going to be a decision made and a cool transformation at the end of the story, as well as the structure of the story, which went present, flashback, present, flashback. Present day is where you see Nessina, the main character, go through a trial. The flashbacks is showing how she got there. That's what I thought, because during the free writings, I realized why these flashbacks, memories, were being shown to her. That's right, they have a purpose in the story of why they're being there, versus the original idea where they were just there so the reader knew how she got there. Only having really the structure of a genre in place and just knowing what I need to achieve in there as I move towards the climax allowed for a lot of freedom and discovery in my free writings. And it really helped me find the story there. But the thing is, when I'm done with the free writing, it doesn't mean the story's done. It doesn't mean I have it locked in, completed, ready to move on and start writing it. No, sir, it is not. There is tons of work to get done. I gotta take that summary, that long summary, big summary, short summary, depending on the story, and now break it down. What is good? What I don't like? What I want to keep? What maybe should be saved for a sequel? And that can take a while, especially when you have no direction when you're free running versus you do. Let's go back to Let the Hunt Begin. It took me 3 months to figure out that this grand epic is not what I wanted. I loved the story. I love what I came up with, but I really wanted to focus on Cato and the Taken in a fantasy version of Rome with the body count of John Wick. All that Save the Empire from the traditional stuff was cool. I loved it. And I said, quickly decide that can be the sequel. There's enough there to thread into this one that would set up that. Cool. But it took a lot of time. And it took a lot of working through all the summaries to figure that out. Versus when it came to Stolen Islands, when I knew the ending, the climax, all that. Well, I had a great detailed synopsis based on that. Literally taking the summary and turning into scenes. But that's also when I realized, when I came to about to write the story, that was not a novella. That was a novel. Barely a novel. Like, there was stuff missing. I would have had to add. But the story was supposed to be a novella. So I ended up taking that last third because it had ideas and the most exciting stuff I came up with during the free writing that I really wanted to write, and turned that into the novella. And during the writing process of the story, I learned so much about Cato. I learned so much about Clayton, who his true antagonist was in that story, and what the story would be if I was to go back and edit it. But the thing is, when I decided to take that last third, if I would have just done another round of free writing, I probably would have learned everything I learned during the writing of the novel there. But that's okay. It's part of the process. It's still new getting it back in, and that's okay. But that's really where free writing is going to sit in my method right now. It's going to help me figure out the story. Where it will fall in there, how will I start soon or later, still figuring that out, but it is definitely a permanent part of my writing process. There you have it. That's what free writing is and how I am currently using it in my process. It's an amazing tool that for some of you is going to be a godsend for, but that's all it is. It's a tool, one of many you should have in your tool chest as writers. Some of you will go on to use it for every project you ever write. Some will only use it here and there, and some of you will use it once. Or you'll use it for a project, forget about it, and then not use it again for 20 years. But some of you will only use it once, and that's okay. As long as you know about it and you have it there for when you need it. That's all I have for you. Since you made it to the end of this video, I'd love it if you would comment down below what you thought of this video and free writing in general. Have you tried it before? Will you give it a try? Let me know down below. And since you're here, I'm assuming you enjoyed it. So why not help us out and make the algorithm happy by smashing that like button and doing it as a prayer to the holy algorithm. And subscribe because I got other writing content on this channel, which is on the screen now. Whatever's best serving for you will be on screen. Pick something, we'll see you there. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye.